In this video, we're going to talk about Space A, what it is, what are the risks, and most importantly, how to use it. What is Space A? Basically, there are military flights going all over the US, all over the world, and there are extra seats available that you can jump on practically for free. If there's a military flight already going to Germany, Korea, Guam, Colorado, Maryland, there's a good chance that there are seats that you can jump on. Now, who is this open for? I'll let you read the fine print in a link that I'll put down below. But ultimately, military, sometimes dependents, retirees, you're put into different categories. And based on your category determines your preference and whether you're going to be the first, second, third, fourth, or fifth pick for any seats that are available. The risks associated with Space A flights is that they're not guaranteed. You can't book an available seat 2 weeks in advance, 3 weeks, 3 months in advance. You can't do it. You show up on the day of, you submit your paperwork ahead of time, you show up on the day of, and if you are chosen, you're high enough on the category list and you signed up early enough, then you get a seat on the flight. If you're not, then you don't get to fly out that day. So with that, a lot of people choose not to use Space A because they can't necessarily rely on it. An additional thing is if you're going to fly Space A, I highly recommend already having in savings enough money for the flight back, a last minute purchase of a flight back from wherever you're going, just in case you don't catch the Space A flight. Also, build in extra time. You may not get the first Space A flight, but if there's another flight in a couple days and you're already on the roster, you would be more likely to get that next one. Now, if you're in Korea or in another place that might be considered a hardship duty place, you can take advantage of what's called environmental and morale leave, and that gets to put you in a category 2, which means if there's anybody who is not on orders or PCSing, if there's any seat that's not taken up by them, you get it, because not many people know about this category 2 and how to get there. So you become the #1 Space A person ready for that flight. So stick around to the end and I'll talk more about that. Now let's cover how to use Space A. Step number 1, locate your nearest passenger terminal. You could pick where you want to go first, like Spain, but that would take some significant navigating of one passenger terminal to the next one, how to get there, whatever. For the sake of explaining how to use it, step number 1 is to find your closest passenger terminal. So for me, I'm in Korea. Osan Air Base is 45 minutes away from here. The way you find your closest passenger terminal is check out either of these 2 links. You can go to spacea.net or the AMC website. The first one gives you a list of all the CONUS and OCONUS for all of the passenger terminals that are in the United States and outside of it. And the second one has a map view of the same thing. The AMC website also gives you the contact information so that you can reach out to the passenger terminal. Okay, step number 2. Now that you've figured out what passenger terminal is closest to you, either going through the AMC website and clicking the link, or go onto Facebook and search the name of that passenger terminal in Facebook. What'll pop up is the passenger terminal Facebook page, and in the photos section of that page, it'll give you the schedule 72 hours out. Now, Space A flights are usually not published more than 72 hours out. For security reasons, it's a bad idea to publish flights and make that flight information available more than 72 hours out. However, there are certain places like in Korea where they will publish that schedule a full month in advance. Once you can see that 72-hour window, it'll show you what flights are coming in and out and about how many seats are open, as well as what category of personnel have been able to get that flight. Once you see that information, start to look at that page regularly so that you can find patterns, because usually certain places like Baltimore, for example, the passenger terminal out of BWI regularly has flights going to Germany. Osan Air Base regularly has flights going to Japan and on to the United States. At the end of this step, you've figured out what passenger terminal is closest to you, you've gone onto the website and you've started to track, okay, what flights can I easily catch out of here and when am I likely to be able to get a Space A flight? Step number 3 is to make sure that you have enough money in the bank to be able to catch a flight back from wherever it is you're going if you are not able to catch a Space A flight back. Step number 4, submit a DA-31 or submit a leave form so that you can get out of the country. Usually that takes a couple of weeks to process through the chain of command. If you're going out of the country, of course, you're gonna have to do country requests and all of that, so make sure you go through that process nice and early. Step number 5, call the passenger terminal. Make sure that you have all of the documents that they need. They're definitely gonna need the DA-31. If you're doing environmental morale leave, there's a form that goes along with that. Just make sure that any documents they have, you are preparing and you have them ready. Step number 6, submit these documents. No surprise here. The sooner you can submit those documents, the earlier you'll get your name on the wait list and the more likely you'll be able to get on the flight. Again, even if you submit it super early, if somebody is higher than you on the category list, they can still bump you. However, get your paperwork in. This step is done once the passenger terminal on the phone or however has confirmed that yes, you are on the wait list. There is no further documentation you need. We have everything that we need. Step number 7, be ready to fly. Show up at the passenger terminal 2 to 3 hours ahead of time, or whatever time is recommended, a little bit earlier than that. A little bit earlier than whatever time they recommend once you talk to the passenger terminal. Showed up 2.5 hours early and sign in. Sign in and let them know that you're present and ready for roll call. You should have all your bags, passport, documents, DA-31 copies, everything that you need in order to fly. Step number 8, be present for roll call. And if your name is called, go up there and get on your flight. Super exciting. Okay. Mission success. Your flight will cost you anything from $0, and it cost me $30 to fly across the Pacific. Okay, environmental morale leave. For my soldiers, brothers and sisters in Korea, because we are in a hardship duty location, we get to become category 2. That means if anybody is not PCSing, if they're not on orders, if they're not traveling on official military business, then we are a higher priority than them, and we are practically guaranteed a seat on a flight. If there is even one seat that's not taken up by a PCSer or somebody on official duty, then we get to take it. Not many people know about category 2, so you pretty much get put in a category of your own, and you practically get guaranteed a flight. For soldiers who just want to take a trip home but aren't quite sure how to afford it, this is a fantastic option. Again, make sure you've got enough to get yourself back to Korea in case the Space A flight falls through, and make sure you put some buffer time. There's usually a couple days difference between one flight and the next flight, like a Tuesday to Thursday difference between one flight coming to Korea and when the next one would be coming. So make sure, hey, if you can't get the first one, then there's enough space in your leave to be able to catch the next one, right? So build a money buffer and a time buffer. However, again, with this category 2 leave, you should be able to travel to and from the States for $60, 60. That's different than $800 if you plan way in advance for a trip, and $2,000 if you're looking for a last minute flight between Korea and the States. For those folks in Korea, check out the PACOM memorandum that talks all about environmental morale leave, and use that as a way to describe to your chain of command what it is that you're doing. All that you need is the form within that PACOM memorandum. It just needs an O3 commander signature. That's it. You take that, that's one of the required documents to give to the passenger terminal. In order to get that document signed, make sure you attach and highlight the relevant portions of the memorandum so that your command team will know, oh, okay, this makes sense. I know what I'm signing here. Yes, I support this. A couple things to note if you're flying Space A. Remember, again, the time buffer and the money buffer, because again, Space A isn't guaranteed. If you're going under a cargo plane, then it's highly, highly recommended, or if you just don't know, it's highly recommended that you have noise canceling headphones, because otherwise you just got earplugs and you might be bored to death for hours. Noise canceling headphones, so worth it. Also have a blanket because it can get cold. The cargo bay isn't exactly well heated. Lastly, I've had 2 Space A experiences so far and plan to do a lot more. My experiences were fantastic. I had 60 days of leave and I needed to go from Maryland to a wedding in Colorado. I had never used Space A before, but I found the passenger terminal website and I saw there was a flight leaving out in 2 days. I had some folks drop me off there and say, hey, this may not work. I may need you to pick me up again in 2 hours. No big deal. I waited around for 2 hours until roll call. I was the only person waiting, and I got a free flight on a Learjet to Colorado. And the pilots were really nice. They invited me to barbecue at our layover in Arkansas. Second Space A experience was I had to get back to the States for a selection, but my flights for that selection hadn't been approved yet, and they weren't going to be for a while. I had still had to get back to the States about a month in advance of that in order to get some personal affairs taken care of. So I used the Category 2 environmental morale leave to practically guarantee myself a flight back. Did I actually need it? No. There are more seats available than people trying to take Space A on that flight. However, it gave me peace of mind of, okay, I'm practically guaranteed to be able to get on this flight because nobody else does Category 2. This isn't a high PCSing season. This will work. In the description, I'll link a Facebook group that might be able to help answer some further questions about Space A travel. I hope this video is useful for you. I hope you do some Space A travel. It is a fantastic resource that needs to be used more. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.